Imagine living to 46. A life not unlike yours, full of joy, struggle, family, love, hate, greed, and fulfillment. 46 years of life. 46 times 365, almost 17,000 days. Now imagine waking up on day 17,001 and never seeing 17,002. Never seeing your family again, your flame extinguished as if you were a rabid dog, a knee on your neck, pressing down until you can't feel your arms, your legs, your torso, your heart. Imagine waking up on a day like any other and being put down by the very same men who say they are there to protect you. Your head swelling on the cold concrete while you can't move, while you plead for mercy, only to be met by nothing but silence. For those who are doing this to you do not see you as human. In their eyes, they aren't killing a human. They are putting down the personification of what they hate. You are not only killed, you have your very essence, your humanity taken from you. And you are devolved to a piece of cold, dead meat. When confronted by such a destiny, many of us, of all skin tones, religions, and ages, took to the streets in the coming days. What started off as a peaceful protest was soon met with the full force of the American police state. Unlike the anti-lockdown protests, this was not going to be tolerated by the system, by the state, and most importantly, by capital. The nature of the protests slowly evolved, and soon after, comrades rushed to support the cause, fully unifying behind the rage, the anger, and the utter rejection of double-faced apologies offered by a system that chokes you to death at one moment and offers a fake bow at the other. The whole thing obviously quickly turned violent, while many understood the justified anger people felt and chose to support it. Others retrieved into their sheltered, privileged outlook, that of calling for pacifism and peace. Suddenly, those who fully supported the cause were disgusted by the destruction of capital, of Targets and McDonald's alike. They were frightened by how the anger manifested, because no matter how much they thought they supported the active combating of systematic racism, they were not ready to give up their fragile comfort for this or any movement. These people, my friends, the ones who take the high road, are in a way not all that dissimilar to the colleague of Mr. Floyd's murderer, who chose to be an onlooker in a very black and white issue. No pun intended. This video isn't about analyzing what is currently going on, though, because I'm definitely not an investigative journalist, so I cannot tackle it from that perspective. I'm neither a black American, and it would be incredibly dumb and silly of me to go on about a racial injustice while I sit an ocean away from you. There's plenty of other content creators that can tackle that. But I would lie if I said that the events which have unfolded haven't been what has inspired me. The bravery of everyone in the American streets and abroad, both those protesting peacefully, but also those with Molotovs in hand, have summoned so much debate and analysis that I believe staying silent on the topic would be, at least to say, immoral. Most people you see criticizing popular uprisings throughout the world usually do it from the comforts of their own couch. They see the world in a, how do we call it, cinematic manner. When you watch a film, the only context you can get is from what is shown or implied on screen. The world of the film quite literally is limited by its running time and what it insinuates came before and after the movie. Those among us who genuinely think that there is such a thing as a passive, non-violent existence see life in the same exact way. Their experiences, what they see, what they feel, what they smell, touch, and live, must be the only thing that exists, like a film. Therefore, if their lives are not directly threatened, and if their experiences aren't horrific enough, they quite literally cannot wrap their little yebony brain around what provokes violence as the last solution in so many of us. This might sound like a hell of a convoluted way to describe privilege, but no, my friend. While privilege certainly plays its part, that is not what the main point is here. These people, arguably the majority, have taken the pacifism pill by genuinely believing that there is such a thing as a non-violent state of affairs, that violence can only be defined as one person doing physical harm to another, like shooting or punching them. The experience of violence is both a matter of privilege but also circumstance. Their scope does not allow them to fully grasp the very bloody nature of capitalism, patriarchy, and racism, which are all directly intertwined by, keeping themselves afloat on oceans of blood and sweat every single day, every single hour, every single minute, from the factory worker in Indonesia to the child diamond miner in the Congo, from the soldier in Kurdistan to the impoverished black single mother in Chicago. The violence of the status quo presses its cold boot on the neck of the entirety of the human experience. Violence against capitalism, which is directed at capital and the state, is self-defense. And not only that, but in contrast to the suffering caused by the status quo every day, the anger displayed on the streets of the US, Paris, Chile, or Moscow is least to say bloody merciful. If the working class was to deal with the 1% the way they deal with us, we would make Stalin look like a fucking anarchist. There is no such thing as genuine peace in capitalism. I know I'm repeating myself, but this has to be hammered in every person's head. When your whole system is based around the idea of moralized exploitation, then how can you tell me with a straight face that we are living in a free world, that history has ended, as Mr. Fukuyama said? Seriously, how, Yebeno, dare you? How the fuck, you little shit, do you look at the world built on the bones of millions and look into the eyes of the grandchildren of the North Atlantic slave trade and have the actual unironic audacity to say they should just get over it? The question of whether using violence to fight violence is an unending cycle of life and death is a circle jerk petty intellectuals like to engage in. But the working class, minorities, LGBT, and trans people don't have the privilege to LARP these ideological mannerisms. Liberation is not achieved or granted. It is not gifted or earned. Liberation is taken. Throughout history, the working class had conceded hundreds of times all over the world to reformist offerings of capitalist governments and leaderships. Their silence was bought with different trinkets, like the welfare state, wider civil liberties, and so on. While these were great successes in the short run, and while I do not want to undermine them in any way, they were, at the end of the day, capitalism's approach to postponing popular revolt. You don't starve your pigs, you don't overfeed them. Give them enough, and they'll stay calm until butcher day. In the same way, we've been fed just enough, given just enough, not to revolt. But as history has proven it, revolt and the pursuit of genuine liberation cannot be quelled, and reforms can only do so much before the entirety of the system reveals itself as what it is, a fraud. So, when mainstream ideas of how we can enact change, when material stability and monetary success is only achievable through radical competition and the abandonment of your community as you strive to the top, then violence, my tavarishi, is not only the only choice, but the preferred one. In Minecraft, of course. I don't want to LARP here like half of Twitter and tell you how pretty much any meaningful societal change is inextricably linked to the public expression of violence. But what can't be denied is one simple truth. The powerful only give when they fear. They only step back when they cannot step ahead. It is a duty not only to ourselves but to our children, who are far more likely to see the world we want to live in than we are, to never question our resolve, to never give in to the liberal idea that passive and active violence are not interchangeable. Don't let them tell us what civility is. Don't let them tell you what is acceptable and what is not. The time for negotiation has passed a long time ago. We have tried it for generations. We have trusted for generations. But the working people can and will not tolerate broken promises anymore. Maybe it's not today, and maybe these protests won't do anything. Or maybe they'll do in a week what otherwise takes years. I don't know, and neither do you. But they have shown the most oppressed people in the richest country in the world that you can burn down a police station, that you can create autonomous zones in the middle of massive sprawling cities, that you can push back the most highly budgeted violent police force with a bunch of rocks and protest signs. It has shown us that they truly, really will stop at nothing to denigrate and silence the voice of progress. It has shown us that our ideas aren't a simple daydream, but something we can materially manifest in the world around us. BLM and all other groups currently showing the middle finger to power have reminded all of us, outside of theory, that we are what makes this fucking boat run. So how do we react to violence? We seize it. It is neither good or evil. It is a tool. Stop moralizing and theorizing around it. Just look at it as a hammer and understand that in order to build something with it, you unfortunately have to tear down what's currently occupying its space. There are times for building and there are times for breaking. It's pretty evident we live in the latter. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what the right move is or isn't. These are very decentralized movements with very broad sets of demands, and even if the most radical demands are met, they will unfortunately still be inside of the spectrum of capitalism. I only hope that the reforms which do come ahead end up helping some people, but I'm afraid they'll only be smokescreens used to de-radicalize and quell current or future protests. Still, what we should take out of this, as the most important lesson, is that we have shown ourselves and power that we cannot and will not be taken for granted. The degeneracy of the Republican and Democratic Party has peaked. One is ruled by a quasi-fascistic autocratic egomaniac, and the other by an apolitical professional politician virtue signaler. The Dems kneeling while wearing African scarves is the perfect metaphor depicting the impotent nature of non-democratically ran societies. Most of these people don't want to help or instill genuine change because it would hurt their place in what we like to call class hierarchy. But even if some of them would like to stand up and maybe even introduce a new path towards, meaningful change, they would immediately risk being defunded by every single special interest group paying for their next re-election. Mainstream politics is over. The US will last for a while longer, but in the wider geopolitical sense, its position as the only world power is coming to an end. With the incoming economic crisis, political diffusion, and gradual radicalization of the working and oppressed peoples of the world, the only thing that can stop us in the coming decades is ourselves. We must not fall for the liberal illusion that fighting back against fascism, whatever way you can, makes you the same as the fascists. Use every means you have, from the streets to using your own capital, because the alternative to socialism is barbarism. Plain and simple. Read theory, organize and support. And don't worry, Tavarishi, in the end, they will either surrender or sell us the very rope we will hang them with. Thank you, dear Tavarishi, that made it to the end of this video. I would like to take this opportunity to humbly thank all the patrons which help run this channel. Deep Red Wine, Crouton and Baguette, Achichi, Desmond, Maruzia Asarabakara, Neil Suryo, Sam and Eggs, and all you other wonderful Tavarishi, comrades, and Gopniks. If you ever considered supporting this channel, now would be the perfect time. For the price of half of a can of beer a month, you can help run this channel and make my life a little bit more bearable. Have a good one, Tavarishi.
Più frontiere, con i confini, rosse bandiere, o proletari alla riscossa, bandiera rossa trionferà.